Okay then, welcome back everybody. We're back on this Plymouth again here in Plymouth City. There's the gas tank for the Chrysler, which was ready to go in today and didn't go in because it had problems with the gas line. You saw that on the other video. Well, that's going to be resolved soon, hopefully. So anyway, I'm just back out here again in the garage getting started back on this car again. I had a few things going on. The weather took a abrupt turn for the cold, and it was down about, I know you're probably going to say, what was it, down to 40? No, it was actually got down about 16 here one night, and then I guess the next night it stayed up about 26 or 27, but that's pretty cold to be out here on a concrete floor with not a whole lot of heat. So I just stayed in the house and twiddled my thumbs basically and was bored and didn't like it. So now it's back up to about 50 and it's going to rain, but that's okay. I'd rather be in here with it 50 than to be in the house, so when there's things to be done. So anyway, we're back out here at this. Oh yeah, by the way, we also did say goodbye to the green car. It's on the way now, so a few things going on. It's been a busy week. So what's going on here is I'm folding myself back under the car. Yeah, my long legs, man, I can't hardly maneuver under here sometimes. I'm gonna be glad when the rest of this stuff gets sold to that car, that green car, because it's crowding me back here, and I don't like clutter. I don't like having where I don't have much room to work. So that's got to stay there. I ain't getting rid of that, but I'll be glad to clear out around this where the cars are being worked on. I just can't stand it. I can't stand clutter and close spaces and things like that. I have to have room and a little bit of order, so try to clean up as much as I can. I watch people's videos, man. I think the world of them, and I love their channel and all that. But man, I see people got these crapped up garages and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I can't watch it. It's like, it drives me crazy. I was like, please clean the floor up. Pick that garbage up. Pick those cans up. They're laying in the weeds, all that stuff. And I know somebody's saying, why don't you just worry about your house and I'll worry about my house and I'll be happy. So what's the deal here? If you can see, I'm so bad about not looking through the viewfinder, but aside from having brake fluid dripping on my wrist, I'm taking this rear center brake line out, and I've already taken the rubber part loose. I cut it right there. You can probably see the top of it kind of dangling. Drip, drip, drip. That's good though. It'll help that brake line gravity drain itself, flush it out. But anyway, so I'm taking this line out, what's left of it, because I got to replace it. There's the end. So I was able to save the line on the car. I didn't have any problems with it, thank goodness. Alright. Well, piece of crap. I gotta do something else here. So I'm gonna take the line, get that out, and then I'm gonna take this junction block off and clean it up, because it's kind of got a bunch of crap all on it. Just gunk, basically. So I got the remains of the lines out too. One of them, yeah, they're both over there. One piece of it there. So got that off. Clean the axle up a little bit. I'm gonna clean up a little bit more when I get that thing out. And I got a pair of lines for it ordered from the people that make brake lines, and send that. Hopefully, I hope it comes tomorrow, because we're gonna have, like I said, it's gonna be fairly warm this weekend, and I need to go in and get this knocked out. So I got that. I got 2 shocks which have arrived. I'll replace them. I thought, well, while I'm under here, why not? And I already got the center brake line. It's here. Got that last week, and I'm still waiting on my adjuster cables that broke. So I'm either going to get 4 of those things, or I'm going to get 16, because they showed 4 in the picture, and I ordered 2 of them inadvertently, not paying attention to what I was doing. So I'm gonna have extra again, but never know, one's on the front to break, something like that. So I'm doing that, and then we're gonna start putting these brakes back together and move upward, get out from under this thing. I'm gonna check the rear end fluid also, the lube in it. It's got that funky giant Torx head screw I hate, but I tell you what, I told you guys earlier in another video, I said do not buy those Warrior saw blades. It's the wind. It's either the wind or it's the evil spirit wanting to get in here. And I stand by that. But you know, Harbor Freight, just as a quick aside about Harbor Freight, I've had pretty good luck with Harbor Freight because the blades are terrible. They wear out too quick. I wouldn't waste my money on them. But this is a breaker bar that I got from Harbor Freight, and this thing has been a lifesaver. They use this for a lot of stuff. So some stuff is pretty good, some stuff ain't. That jack's a Harbor Freight jack, and it's not liking this cold weather too well. It's sort of act like it's got a little bit of air in it, so I may have to bleed it. But anyway, guys, that's the fascinating update here, and I don't know what else to really tell you about. I got the marker light in. The other one that was broken was beyond repair, so I got that, the replacement here. I bought a slightly crusty used one. I'm not going to buy a new one because this ain't a new car, and the one look right on it, probably from somewhere not in this country. And I bought a new master cylinder, the correct one for it, which is a Ray Bestos, which of course came from the mainland of China. I just like the rest of Ray Bestos stuff, so just remember that when you buy Ray Bestos. The only thing that might be made here is the box with the name on it. And what else we got going on? I actually bought 2 master cylinders. I bought one for this car, and it said that everything I could find said that the Chrysler out there takes the same one. And the Chrysler also has the wrong master cylinder on it. Somebody put the disc brake master on it too, and so got one for it, and still waiting on, like I said, my cables and the one master cylinder. And what else? I think that's about it. Oh yeah, the lines. So hopefully we're gonna get all this stuff in this weekend, and we'll get this thing buttoned up, and then after that we're going to move on to, we got a couple interior things going on which I'm not enthusiastic about dealing with because it's not going too good, and we're going to have to clean this manifold up and all that, so I may start this part of it next. The engine, I got the carburetor rebuilt. I'm sorry I'm too lazy to get up and walk over and show it to you, but just envision that I'm showing you a rebuilt BBD carburetor. Alright guys, I got to get busy with this, so I'll be back in just a second. There's something else. Okay, I'm doing some 1970s style wheel cylinder rebuilding, and I just took a piece of 1500 grit sandpaper and my finger and honed these wheel cylinders, and they've turned out pretty good. See a little cross hatch in there and not on the camera. I don't always like to pick up stuff like that, but see what would have been in there. Anyway, not perfect, but they're better than terrible. Nah, they're pretty good. It work just fine. This thing's pretty forgiving. So now we'll buff up the actual pistons, which they're in good shape. They've got a little bit of staining on them, but no big deal. So we'll work on those, and then we're ready to put everything back together. May even clean up the outsides a little bit. Okay, one wheel cylinder ready to go back together. You know, I'll just tell you, man, it's so relaxing for me to just sit here and work on stuff like this, because, you know, it just kind of, I like doing things the old way. I think we just sort of have got away from trying to actually fix things and rebuild things. A lot of cases, you know, modern cars don't need it. They don't work that way, but the old cars still do. You know, you can rebuild so much stuff, brakes, carburetors, you know, anything. If it can be built, it can be rebuilt. And I wish people would do a little bit more of that, or try to. You know, it's just, this is the way it was done back then. If you took your car in for brake work, the mechanic would sit at the bench and rebuild whatever it was, or, you know, if it couldn't be rebuilt, they'd replace it. But that's just the way it was back then, you know, except for some of the modern stuff. This could be 1978 instead of 2018 here, right now. So, you know, when I see people's videos, I know they have their best intentions going, but when I say, well, I better go get it remanufactured, get a rebuilt starter, a rebuilt alternator, I'm like, man, you know, where my book is, but the good book here, the service manual, tells you how to rebuild every last piece on one of these things. Try it, you might like it. Well, starting on wheel cylinder number 2, and this is kind of ugly. You can tell that there wasn't much fluid, I guess, circulation, or maybe there was some leakage or something, but the piston won't come out this end. So I think we can save it. Let's find out. Well, unfortunately, I had to condemn this second wheel cylinder because if you look in the bore right there, you see there's a rust spot right there, and I don't really care for that, and the outside ends of it are just a little bit rough also. So it's had too much moisture in it, it's got pitting in it, so that's usually it's usually always a deciding factor of whether to reuse one of these wheel cylinders, so that's too bad. But the pistons are okay, or the surface rides, but pretty rough on the outside. It's had a lot of water sitting in there, moisture, so we're going to condemn that one, and I'm going to get one of my new unused spares and check it out real quick and make sure it's good to go, and then that will be it. One we could use and one we couldn't. We'll just have a spare kit. I was under the mistaken impression that this was a kit for both wheels. It's not. What it is, I have two different types of boots in them. So one's rigid, one's not. These don't take the rigid ones. They take the soft ones. Alright guys, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to hang her up for the night. See you on the next little clip in just a second. Well, I'm just doing a little garage cleaning today. It's windy and rainy out, so it's a good day to be in here straightening things up. So I don't know if you guys ever remembered the story. It was on one of those, I guess it was one of those documentaries, so to speak, and it was about the people living in a house somewhere, and they were terrorized by spiders. They could never get rid of the spiders. That's kind of what's going on with me out here. Been invaded by these, I think they're just like grass spiders. They look terrible. They look like brown recluse, but they're not. But it's getting cold, and they've come indoors to try to survive the winter. Saw another one over here walking around a while ago. It was over here, and I've killed like 4 or 5 back over this way. So anyway, they're trying to make my home their home, like a lot of things do when the weather turns. So, but that's okay, because I have something that will deal with that. Over here, and yes, I'm working my way this way as far as straightening it up, but I've got some home pest spray, so I get that stuff and I get the floors picked up and swept up and everything, and we'll go to town on that. You know, I hate to kill stuff, but I had a choice. The choice is to stay somewhere else or try to come in here where I am. And you know, in so much as I am the human here, I make the decisions, and I have decided that the spiders are not welcome. So anyway, we're still waiting on parts for this thing. Rock Auto has not been on the ball very good this week, right after Thanksgiving, I guess. But I got enough parts to do. Like I said, I got a master cylinder I can put on. I got some shocks I can put on, but the rest of it is kind of hanging out. Just do some piddling stuff. Work on some washer lines and stuff, things like that. Might go ahead and, well, I got enough to do. I'll go ahead and clean this manifold up too, all that. So let's commence with the commencing. Okay, I've locked back in the battle again, and I got a quick tip for you. If you're doing rear shocks on one of these old cars like this, do not let the suspension hang before you try to take the shocks off, because the shocks tend to be what limits the travel in some cases of the downward travel of the suspension. So when it's hanging like that, more often than not, it's hanging by the shock. So if you try to get the bolts loose and then try to get the thing out, and you're gonna end up not being able to. So just take your floor jack and get up under the axle and jack it up several inches and take the load off the shock and compress it a little bit, and it'll just come right off. There you go. Damn stink bug. These things will not give up. Uh-oh, running low. Right then, so I got to go over and get my shop towels, clean this up with, wipe this down with, so I'm going to spare you the having to see and hear me try to get up out of here. Okay then, plan B. So I was cleaning up this push rod and all that. It came out of this brown car, and I had a uh-oh moment. Look in there. You see all that scarring, and the rust is dried out, and it has. I'll get you some light on it here. Maybe not. Let's get over here. Yeah, you see all that? That thing's destroyed. And not only that, I found out, I dug out my spare one off the other car. The tips broken off of it. Supposed to have that piece on it, which is not there. Holds on a little, fits into like a little rubber grommet that's in the end of the piston on the master cylinder, and on top of that, the bolt was even worn out. Let me show you the worst of it. We'll get this thing turned around. Come on. Anyway, I guess it just ran out of lubrication and just started eating itself up. That's junk. And that's junk. So fortunately I had the other one, like I said, so I got all that, the bolt's in good shape. It was lubricated, so I'm gonna use it. It's the way things go with these old cars, man. You just gotta do what you can to keep them going with what you have. And this is another one of these. I don't know, people have a difficulty with brake cylinders. I've already said this, but Phil bought this one, and he bought the wrong one. That was off the green car. Now I have two of these. I don't know what I'm going to use them on. I don't have a car that'll fit on right now. But oh well. Well guys, we're having a heat wave today of sorts. It's about 65, it's sunny, and it's the day after we had high winds and torrential rains and all that stuff, so it's nice out here and the birds are tearing the bird food up like usual. These are mainly finches. They're house finches and some purple finches mixed in with them. I hardly ever have any gold finches, and I really don't much see any other kind of birds up here, but these finches just love the food, and just about all they want to eat is sunflower seeds. I mean, you can feed just about anything that'll eat seed, you can feed it sunflower seed, and that's what they like. So anyway, I thought I would get out here today and do work. Of course, it's Friday, and then I also was trying not to scare them. They just flew away, but I was trying to also do an update on this Plymouth over here, the brown one. I decided I'm going to pull this thing out of the garage. It's not quite done yet, but the problem is that it's kind of getting, you see what's happening to it. Yeah. Bless their hearts. Anyway, it's turning into a storage shelf, so that's not good. When that starts to happen, that means I've got to get it out and get it out here where I have access to it. It's daylight and sunny, I can see work on it, but I have been working on it. I have gotten things done. The brakes are all done on it, front to rear, and all the lines, all the shoes, all the wheel cylinders, etc., etc., etc. Master cylinder, I got that put on, and I thought I was having a problem with these brakes because it seemed like the pedal was too low and had too much play in it and things like that, but it just turned out that it had the master cylinder had an airlock in it, so I just let it kind of sit a couple days, and it worked its way out. Now they seem to be working good. We'll know when we get it on the road. But the other thing is I have the Super 6 put on, and it's in place. Still working. You can't see real good. I'm sorry. We'll do a better video outside later, but still working the spring situation out. This thing's set up definitely different from a one barrel. The main thing is that the axis that the throttle blades, everything pivots on, is this way on a two barrel, and it's this way on a one barrel, so things have to turn around. So it's got a special choke, and it's got a special piece of linkage down in there, which you'll see much more detail about that, and an arrangement of springs and stuff like that. So it's all on and together, and I hope it doesn't leak the manifold, all that. But I've got some wiring left to do. I've got to wire the electric choke up, and got to swap out that radiator. That's not the original radiator. That's the one like the original. It's very similar, and I'm going to keep that and use it, but it needs to be rebuilt because it's leaking. So that's not going to work. And I've got a spare and all that stuff over there somewhere. I've got the one out of the green one, which was already repaired. That's the one Uncle Phil ran over the bushes with, but it still works good, and I'll just go ahead and wear it out, I guess. And then in the meantime, when the time comes, I'll have this one rebuilt professionally and all that. So that's about it. I've been doing some interior work on this. I painted my defroster grills. I'm ready to put those all back in, and I started working on that reverse light situation with that switch and that little actuator peg, but I kind of got stumped on that, so it's kind of just hanging out for now. I think we get it back outside, that'll motivate me to think on that a little bit harder. But most everything off my list has been taken care of, I think. Let's look and see. Brakes done, check front end, it was good. Repair, replace carb manifolds, that's done. Repair reverse lamps, that's not done. Re-repair cluster, that's not done. Okay, those three things are not done. Reinstall washer bottle, well, that's gonna be done. What happened, I think I just showed you a little clip on back there that the one that goes in this got a crack in it for some reason. I don't know that anybody ever touched it, but it just developed a crack, and that's it. It's junk, can't be used. So I have the one, again, I have the one off the green car. I keep all that stuff like that because it's getting expensive to buy some of these parts. So the problem with that, though, is that for whatever reason, you tell me, they swapped ends where the little rubber line goes into the tank, and that's about it. Looks a little different, but it's still plastic and it still will work. I just have to swap this over to here. So one of the things I'm having to do mentally with this is, number one, not go insane. No, I'm kidding about that. One of the things I have to do mentally about this is kind of let go, since this is a 4-door and it's not a show car. I've kind of had to let go of this thing about being so OCD that it has to be just perfect and things have to be just like it was originally. Now that's the 66 out there. That car, anything I ever do to that car is going to be as close to original style or type as I possibly can. But this one, it's just kind of having to, loosen the reins a little bit on this. So I'm not going to worry too much if I don't have the right washer bottle in it. I'm just going to try to, again, use the spare parts that I have, because those spare parts really not going to go on anything else. I have the bargain basement variety of a lot of stuff. Like I have a couple different 2-speed wiper motors. I got a couple, one washer bottle that goes to a manual washer. I got one 19-inch spare 19-inch radiator. I got stuff that really is just not worth much except to use it as spare parts, so that's what I'm going to do. And I bought something else, but I'm going to show you that in a minute. So in the meantime, I'm going to get this the rest of the way cleaned out. This garage has gotten, when you're working, like I said before, when you're working, you just kind of, you don't always want to take time to stick stuff back in where it goes. Like that goes back in there, and those go in there, and all that, and just garbage cans filling up, and some empty cans laying around. So it just happens. So I have to come back and do a good deep cleaning. I think that's what I'm going to do tonight, because this garage is kind of always a work in progress. It's getting there, but it's not really usable like the way I want it. I still have too much stuff just stored in here, like my outdoor stuff. It's taking up space, and that it ain't nothing in there except just some garbage, I think. And this thing here, which was my grandparents', which is a nice little cabinet. I've been using it to store things, and I got my grinder sitting on it, but it's not really working good yet. So what I'm gonna have to do is just go ahead and build a bench, because I've been using this little table, and it's just kind of, and that thing there, it's just, it's not bad ideas, but those things all those drawers are so full, they're just almost impossible to get open and closed now, and those shelves are full, and those toolboxes are beyond full. I need a bigger toolbox now, and I got all this stuff over here, which I don't mind this. I mean, it's just gonna have to stay somewhere in here, because It's just spare parts and things like that. So, but I want to organize more. I love organization. I just, and please don't take this as me being malicious about saying this, but you look at this. This is a mess. I mean, it absolutely is a mess. So I'm speaking as someone who also has a mess. But man, when I look at other people's shops and they got a nice big shop and it's just crapped up with stuff laying around. I just cringe, man. I can't. I'm like, it's all I can do. Like, get in my car and like contact this person and say, please, I'm gonna come clean your shop up for you. Please let me clean that shop. Like, I can't stand that. Oh. And like I said, it's not malicious. It's not. I don't mean it that way, because if I say something like that, a person has just as much right as anybody else to say, it's none of your business. Don't worry about it. Get over it. It's my shop. Exactly. So I'm just making a comment, but let me say one other one. I got to get this off my chest. UXW Bill, I like him from what I know him on YouTube, and he seems like a nice guy, and probably a good-hearted guy. But man, I'm going to tell you something. They built that nice 3-bay garage several years ago. And my God, you ought to see the inside of that thing. You can't hardly walk in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why do you do that? Why do you build something like that that's starts out entirely usable, and then you crap the thing up? It's like, I'm going to tell you guys something, and this is my own opinion, but you have to physically work to do that. You have to try to do that. It doesn't just happen by itself. You have to intentionally junk things up like that. And I'm not going to get on this anyway, but we've already talked about that. It's a psychological thing. People do that. I know they're great people for the most part, and they don't really realize they're doing it, but it's a psychological thing. When you have things, when you would rather not have an open floor and you'd rather have it like piled up with stuff, which I don't like this, but when you have it piled up, the more you have it cluttered up, it's I think what it is like emotionally, it's like reassuring to you. That's what's going on. That's why people do that. They don't like, they can say, well, we need to clean this up, but they don't like internally, they don't like neatness and wide open floors and wide open shelves and things. They can't deal with it. If it gets that way, it won't stay that way. That's why you see that. So anyway, let me quit yapping about stuff like that, and we're going to get those things wheels back on it, and we're going to probably fire up the old Chev and pull it out. Now we gotta turn this truck around. That'll get the blood pumping. Stuck. Nope. I'm not gonna risk it out in the yard though, even though with these big old tars on there. Some water running down the street somewhere. Yes, there's a ditch there of some sorts, but it's very shallow. Mailway ain't coming down the road. That's amazing how the weather changed so much day to day around this place. Mr. Pod. I hadn't done a single thing to this truck except I had the monkey with. All right, had the monkey with a heater switch to get it working again. That's it. We'll do some things with this truck later on. Right now, I'm satisfied with it is the way it is, but we'll do some things to kind of improve. Like I said, I ain't too crazy about this big big tars in the back looking deal here. All right, something's missing here. There we go. That's better. This came in yesterday. That's surprisingly affordable. There's a lot of hubcaps still floating around for these era cars, it seems. I had those dog dishes on it, but dog dishes those weren't the right ones for it, and I'm not always crazy about those. So these were Shadow Man. These were there, available, affordable, and I won. So here they are. I'm gonna have to come back and, looks like I'm gonna have to come back and readjust this ride height in the front. It was sitting way too low, so I adjusted it. Well, I thought I had it in spec, but it looks like it's just a little too high from here, so we'll go back in and do that, get that leveled out. So okay guys, I'm going to end this here for this episode of this, and I'm going to get in there and start working on replacing that radiator and tying up the loose ends in the engine compartment, and then I think we're ready to fire this thing up and all that. See how she sounds, and I got to do some work on an air cleaner. I've got the original Super 6 air cleaner that I could use on this, and I'll probably use it just temporarily, but I'll show you that on the next part, but I've got another much older air cleaner that will fit a 2-barrel that's from a Mopar, and it looks neat, and it's much more appropriate because the Super 6 air cleaner, I know it says Super 6 on it, but at least the lid does, but the thing about that one I don't care for is that it's otherwise just a mid-70s, late 70s Mopar air cleaner. There's nothing special about it, and it's got the OSAC valve mounted in the air cleaner, so you either have to leave that thing on there, which is ugly, or take it off and put a patch over it. And it's also got on the intake snorkel, it's got a big enlarged end on it because it's supposed to be like that car and have a hose going up to it. Well, this car doesn't have any of that, so I think I'm going to use the old one, and that'll mean I can't use the carb preheat, but that's okay. You know, big deal. We can always change back if we need to, but I think that's what we're going to do. So we'll do that on the next one, so we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and always please comment, rate, subscribe, and we'll see you on another one.